Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and welcome to Season 21 of Pokemon Go Battle League Dual Destiny. In this new season, quite a few attacks have received adjustments, and a few Pokemon have access to new moves. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing one of the Pokemon that was given a new move, and that is Rollout being given to Bibarel. Now, Rollout is a massive improvement for Bibarel. It was previously stuck with Water Gun. Rollout offers way better energy generation, dramatically improved neutral play, and it's a Pokemon that completely walls the standard moveset of Feraligatr. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Rollout Bibarel in action in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a good lead and a good swap as well, leading Bibarel into Clodsire. Opponent safe switches into Dunsparce, and I get to respond with Primeape. Now, Primeape, I initially tried this team for 2 sets with close combat, and ended up in a lot of situations where I honestly really wanted the ice coverage. So I switched to Ice Punch, and then out of 4 sets, ended up having 3 5-0s. Granted, it is day 1, so the competition is not going to be the best, but overall, the switch to Ice Punch ended up working out very, very nicely. And here, the opponent is actually core broken by Bibarel. Bibarel is a rollout user that can beat Clodsire, and they have Feraligatr in the back, which is completely walled with its standard moveset by Bibarel. Here, my Primeape is going to get to not 1, not 2, but 3 Rage Fists. Primeape putting in an insane amount of work on the counter switch. Opponent is going to switch back into the Clodsire, but Clodsire is going to have a pretty terrible day going up against Bibarel. Bibarel fires off the Surf. That does huge damage, and the nice thing here is I'm not in any danger of an Earthquake KOing. However, the good news for me is that I still have a shield, and I know that the Feraligatr can't really damage me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit the shield on the Earthquake, and then look to fire off the Surf. Surf will be shielded. Opponent cannot get to the Earthquake. They could have gotten to a Stone Edge, but a Stone Edge would not have done nearly the same amount of damage. Now I make it to the Surf, and here the opponent, I believe they end up just force closing the app at this point because they realize that Bibarel just had too many Surfs. But I think this is a decent showcase of the niche that Bibarel provides. Not only is it a destroyer of Feraligatr, but it's also a rollout user that can beat Clodsire. We get an amazing lead in the next match, leading the Bibarel into a Corsola. Opponent is going to safe switch into Diggersby, and I get to respond with Primeape. Even though I'm not running close combat, opponent is going to respect it, which is very nice. They have quite a bit of energy. Even if I do lose switch advantage, I'm honestly not too worried, so I let it go, and it ends up being a Fire Punch bait, and that is very, very nice for me. I get to fire off another Ice Punch. That's going to get them low, and then I'm just going to shield, and if 5 Karate Chops don't KO, I'm going to Rage Fist, because I want to try and leave this matchup boosted, but the 5th Karate Chop barely picks up the knockout. Opponent is going to bring back in their Corsola. Corsola is going to be hit with not 1, but 2 Rage Fists as I'm 2 away from the second. Beautiful catch by my opponent, and their final Pokemon is revealed to be their own Bibarel. Rage Fist, of course, is going to be double resisted, but I'll stay in to get the boosted Karate Chop, and then I'm going to try for a very sick Hyper Fang catch, but unfortunately, it's not to be. And now, I'm in a bit of an interesting position here, where, of course, my Corsola has a terrible matchup against Bibarel, but I have energy on my own Bibarel for their Corsola. So, with my energy advantage, I should be in a winning position. I'll just have to make sure that they are unable to catch a Hyper Fang on the Corsola, as that would be their win condition. They're going to shield and get a huge farm down, exiting with quite a bit of energy, and I'm not going to throw here because again, I can't risk them catching it. They will go for the Surf bait. I'm going to throw one more rollout, wait the turn, and fire off the Hyper Fang. This will deliver the knockout to the opposing Bibarel, and now there's just no hope for the opponent as their Corsola is behind on energy. If they could win it, if they could get to 2 Power Gems, but they're not going to be able to do so. First Power Gem is going to land, but Bibarel, with this very fast pacing, is at the back-to-back Surfs. Surf number 1 gets them low, and Surf number 2 is going to deliver a knockout. So we're able to convert a very good lead position. Things got a little scary with their own Bibarel in the back, but we're able to take the win. Leading into Morpeko, going to be a bit of a core breaker for this team. Morpeko is one of the few things that the Bibarel plus Galarian Corsola core does really not want to see. Opponent now gonna, after they land the Poison Fang, send in Clodsire, and this is honestly not amazing. I mean, this is a situation where Ice Punch is very nice. Without Ice Punch, this matchup is extremely unfun. I get the back-to-back Rage Fist, but I'm too low. The Poison Sting will KO, so I'm not gonna get both moves. So instead, I'm just gonna go for the Ice Punch, and now I'm gonna send in Corsola and go for a full farm down. Corsola, I mean, it's going to be able to tank these Earthquakes. I hope they can't get to another Earthquake here, but that's going to be a 1 HP survive. You can't even see the health bar on that Clodsire as they make it to another move. I exit with a Power Gem. Power Gem, as they send in Morpeko, is going to hit for some pretty solid damage as they've already taken 4 Karate Chops. The Power Gem is shielded. I send in Bibarel in the back. Opponent has their own Primeape. And man, this is just a really tough game to play my way out of. The opponent beyond weak to a Mud Slap user. If they see one Mud Slap user, it's over. I think long and hard about calling the Rage Fist here, but I decided to double shield. Calling a Rage Fist genuinely would have been a win condition there, because of course that would have been double resisted, but it's really tough in the moment to make that call. In comes Morpeko. And oh my goodness, this is going to be tough. I'm going to have to try and get a catch to win this. So I farm up, go for the catch. I don't get the catch, and my opponent gets the double up, and I believe I am just in Psychic Fang's range here. Bibarel has okay bulk, nothing to write home about, but I've just taken too much damage throughout the course of this battle, so the Psychic Fangs will be enough to KO Bibarel, and we do end up losing that game. Moving to the next match, terrible lead, leading into Gastrodon. I'm going to save switch into Primeape. Opponent responds with a Tropius, and I hope it now makes sense why I switched to Ice Punch. Because Ice Punch on the save switch ended up being quite useful. Opponent actually respects an Ice Punch, but I didn't go for it. I went for a Rage Fist. Now they might think this is only going to be a Rage Fist, but surprise, it's an Ice Punch. That's a one-hit knockout. They lost so much energy there. Absolute catastrophe for the opponent. I flip switch, I get both shields, and again, these are day 1 battles, so the opponents are not always going to make the most optimal plays ever, but man, that was just a very clutch Ice Punch moment there. Ice Punch, of course, does have extra damage in this new season as well, so we are technically testing out 2 buffed Pokemon at the same time. Opponent is going to full send the Earth Power from the Gastrodon. I commit the shield just to give myself options, and I will be firing off the Nightshade. Nightshade is going to get them low. I get the farm down. In the back, they have Bastiodon, and this game is over because I have Bibarel, and we know how washed Bastiodon is last season and this season as well. Surf is going to do some pretty significant damage. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, we have that troublesome lead from earlier leading into Morpeko. Morpeko is a core breaker. Opponent now going to respond with a Starmie. Starmie, these Psywaves will add up quite a bit. I fire off the Rage Fist. Starmie is very glassy, so they are actually going to shield the first, and that's very nice for me. Now, if they shielded the first, they're definitely shielding the boosted one, and I can just take a 2-0 shield advantage. This will be the Surf. I'm more than happy to let this go. Now, Starmie can have a wide variety of second charge moves. I believe the options are Power Gem and Ice Beam. I'm expecting Power Gem, so I will commit the shield. They're running Psychic, so again, day 1, people are not always going to have the most optimal charge moves, so I do end up shielding a Psychic, which is a bit of a feels bad. Surf is going to KO. In comes Morpeko. Morpeko, I can't remember how much residual energy they had, so I'm just going to shield no matter what. It's going to be these Psychic Fangs, and I just want Morpeko gone. So I will be firing off this Hyper Fang. Now, I did also consider running a Return Bibarel. I think if you're running it as a closer, Return Bibarel might actually be better. But since I'm running it on the lead, I think the consistency of Hyper Fang is a little bit preferred. It also gives you more consistency in specifically the Feraligatr matchup, as that way with Return, it obviously does a ton of damage, but it's almost overkill in the Feraligatr matchup. So even though it does sim better if you're able to successfully Surf Bait and land the Return, that's something that I think I have changed my mind on a little bit, is I think the consistency of Hyper Fang, even though it's a much worse move, could end up proving more useful overall. All right, we move to the next match, and this is a core breaker on the lead. Bibarel into Malamar, the safe switch into the Primeape, and the opponent is going to farm up a ton of energy and respond with Clodsire. Clodsire is going to be hit with Ice Punch after Ice Punch. Now, one weak spot of this team is going to be Malamar. As you see looking across the team as a whole is pretty soft to Malamar. So when it comes to this Bibarel Galarian Corsola core, the 2 things to watch for are basically Malamar and, of course, the Morpeko. So if you see either Mon, gonna have a bit of a tough time. Here, I'm going to win the CMP tie, firing off the Rage Fist. They let it go, and that's actually worse for me because they have a ton of energy stored. So unfortunately, this is probably just going to be a loss because the opponent did not prioritize switch advantage. A lot of the time, if you're ABA weak, people will prioritize switch advantage, but in this case, I'm actually AAA weak to the Malamar, so I'm in quite a bit of trouble. Foul play is going to connect. I'm farming up a decent amount of energy, and yeah, there's just too much energy on the Malamar. I don't really see a way forward, unless maybe I call a foul play bait with Bibarel. So I'm going to stay in here, and I am actually going to no shield here and call the foul play bait, and let's see if that can provide a win con. I do call the foul play bait. They did end up baiting. In the back is going to be Diggersby, and we might lose the game, but we will get some valuable information here. How much does Surf do? Oh my goodness, that's almost half to an extremely bulky XL Pokemon. So Bibarel does hit very, very hard, and I do think the niche of being a rollout user that has play into a lot of the ground types is honestly a very, very cool niche to have. So I do end up losing the game, but overall that damage was very impressive. Hopping into the next match, Bibarel on the lead into Talonflame, the best possible lead. Talonflame stays in, takes 2 rollouts. They store some energy, and they're going to save switch into Gastrodon. Unfortunately, I don't have a flyer to hard check the Gastrodon. I'm just going to land the Hyper Fang, and then I can send in Corsola. Corsola, I'm more than happy to absorb the Earth Power and just look to farm up. I'm not going to be throwing right away here, as I do want to exit this matchup with energy, and here my opponent makes a massive misplay. They try and cap tie as I make it to the Nightshade, but they didn't build up to an Earth Power. And if you go for a Body Slam, I'm just not going to shield it. And now I exit with 2 Power Gems loaded, and even though I'm pretty low, Corsola, even with my terrible IVs, can survive that Incinerate. I can throw another Astonish and make it to Power Gem number 2, and just like that, the opponent's shields go from 2 to 0 in a split second. Bibarel hits the field. Opponent is going to be firing off the Fly. Fly is going to do a solid amount of damage, so I will commit the shield. And in the back is the Zoomerl, and this is another matchup where Bibarel can do quite well. As Rollout, of course, will be hitting for neutral damage, and the Hyper Fangs will add up quite a bit. So my opponent is going to be firing off their energy, and I'm just going to look to farm up as much as I possibly can with the Bibarel. The Azumarill already in the yellow health. I'm firing off another Hyper Fang. This should come very close to knocking out here. The Hyper Fang is going to get them low. Rollout down. Oh no, they live on 1 HP. Oh my goodness, did I just throw this game? Oh, please no. They're going to switch into the Talonflame. It's going to be a race, and the Ice Punch is reached on the Captai to the Fly. It must KO, and it does. We are saved by the Ice Punch buff, and we're able to take the win. And Old Nemesis returns in the next match, leading Bibarel into Malamar. Honestly, when team building here, I wasn't really considering Malamar, and maybe I should have, because Malamar, in this battles that I did go up against it, was a little bit difficult. Opponent is going to throw on very good timing here, as they're going to fire off the superpower, and then look to switch out into the Clodsire, and there, honestly, I should have been paying better attention, as then I could have gone for an Ice Punch, but instead I end up going for a boosted Rage Fist, and now I'm +2. Let's see how much this Ice Punch damage can do. The Ice Punch, oh my goodness, that poor Clodsire. Clodsire forced to fire off energy. It is going to be the Stone Edge, and I'm going to bring in Bibarel and look for the Rollout farm down. Even if they make a move, that's fine. At this point, all I need is energy on Bibarel. Stone Edge is going to connect. That does do a solid amount of damage. In the back is Dunsparce, and oh my goodness, this team was built in a lab to defeat mine. Dunsparce in the back for the Corsola, and this is going to be tough. They shield up the first Surf. I'm firing off Surf number 2. They let this one go, and now I potentially see a win con. They're going to be able to knock me out here, but I have to trust in Corsola to take home this win. In comes Corsola. Corsola is going to be hit with Drill Run after Drill Run, but I can survive it, so I'm not too worried about that. So they are going to go for the Drill Run. I'm farming up a ton of energy. In comes the Malamar, going for the Nightshade. It looks like it is a CMP tie, so I'm going to shield and go for an Undercharge, as I don't believe they can get to another move as long as I do a couple bubbles. They actually shield up the Nightshade, but that allows me to get to Nightshade number 2. I'm able to pick up the knockout, and now we should be in a pretty decent position because the Dunsparce does not have a lot of residual energy. Dunsparce re-enters the field of play, firing off a Drill Run. This is going to be close. It's going to come down to can Power Gem KO? This is the moment of truth here. Power Gem into the Dunsparce. Dunsparce lives on 1 HP, and the game ends in a tie. What a close one. Oh my goodness. Hopping into the final match, Bibarel into Corsola. Opponent is going to save switch into Primeape, and I'm going to respond with my own Corsola, but honestly, this is not an amazing response to a Primeape save switch, as since I don't have a very good IV Corsola, Primeape can actually go for 2 Rage Fist and then Karate Chop me down, which I believe they're unable to do against a high rank Galarian Corsola. So I'm going to fire off the Nightshade, but this is the easiest shield of the opponent's career as they get to exit with quite a bit of energy, and that energy is double boosted at that. So I'm going to bring in the Primeape, and my win con at this point is double shielding, farming everything down, and then hoping that my energy will be able to deliver victory. Opponent is going to make it now to a triple boosted Ice Punch. I will commit the shield, get the counter down, and I have so much energy. This Corsola is about to be in absolute shambles. I fire off this Rage Fist. It is an underpowered Corsola, but by how well it's taking the damage, it's a very, very high rank on paper. So I fire off another Rage Fist. They're going to shield, but they're going to get outpaced here. That's the spamminess of Primeape. I'm going to be able to make it to another Rage Fist. Rage Fist picks up the KO. In the back is a Alolan Sandslash, and that's another Pokemon that Bibarel handles very nicely, as Bibarel is going to be single resisting Powder Snow or double resisting Shadow Claw, and Drill Run does not one-shot, so Bibarel is a very favorable matchup there versus the Alolan Sandslash. We're able to pick up the KO and take the win. All in all, Rollout Bibarel is a very nice improvement. I think overall, it slots in very nicely in an anti-meta role, where I don't think it's going to be in the top 10 usage as far as the Open Great League, but I do think it has way more play than it ever did before. Before, unfortunately, with its very limited coverage, there was a lot of situations where it just felt completely useless, and now, honestly, the coverage is dramatically improved. So, honestly, this is the kind of buff that I do like to see. It's not going to be completely shaking up the top meta, but it's a really cool core breaker that can honestly make some of the top meta teams rethink what they're pairing together. For example, Alolan Sandslash plus Feraligatr, suddenly not so safe when there's a Pokemon like Bibarel that can pretty comfortably beat both of them. So overall, I had a lot of fun running this Pokemon. The first 2 sets, as I mentioned with Close Combat, I was running into some absolute nonsense teams, but after that, we switched over to Ice Punch, and it was pretty smooth sailing from there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.